Hey everyone, this is Eric with Project EKP, and we're showcasing a brand new product today, which is extremely exciting. This is a 1991 Honda CRX rear bumper valance, or spat, and this will replace the rear mud flaps of the car, but also give it a different look that will match like different types of side skirts and stuff like that. So this product is made in California and also designed in California, and we can control the quality by making sure there's no warping, great fitment, and things like that, which is awesome. So you can see this product is a black gel coat finish. This is made out of fiberglass, fiber reinforced plastic, and here is the logo here to ensure its authenticity. So what you'll be receiving is the left and the right here. Here is the parts list document to make sure you have everything in the diagram here. What you'll be getting also is the hardware itself, of course. So you have the 6 washers, 4 wheel well mounting screws that are stainless steel, nylon block washers. This here is the hardware for the brackets, but it's essentially an M4 screw, M4 nut, a split washer, and 2 washers for that. You'll get 2 self-tapping screws. This is basically to join the bracket to the fiberglass spat. And also, here's some recommended tools you should have before installation. So first off, you'll need a drill. That's going to make your holes. A center punch of some sort. This is the one I have here at home. 2 types of drill bits. This is a 5/32. This is going to be making the hole for this bracket here. You want a very, very tight fit because you want to match drill these in order to keep these from shifting. That'll just ensure longevity and fitment. That'll last a long time. This drill bit here is for the front hole that you'll have to drill into your front bumper. So these will already be drilled for you, but you'll need to drill additional hole. This particular size is a 15/64. Anything equivalent or close will be acceptable for like an M6 screw, or basically to fit these. You want a nice tight fit for these, by the way. Here is going to be the product I'll be installing on my car. This has been already painted. As you can see here, it's a black inside gel coat finish, which is going to be similar to what the production piece will be. And observe the logo there as well. And then here are some tips on painting. So here's some of the products that I use. But first, before we talk about these, we need to test fit. Test fitting is really important to make sure the part fits as well as it needs to be. So let's go ahead and show you how that looks on the car. All right, here's the Honda CRX that I'll be installing this part on today. As you can see here, there's one hole that's already from factory. This is for mounting the mud flap, and that will be drilled for you. But remember, you might need to make adjustments for this. This is why a tool like that Dremel might be useful with like a rotary tool in order to carve this hole out anymore. Remember, adjustments may be required, and the hole may not be perfect for your car. One hole you will need to drill is this top hole here. This is going to correspond with this hole up here. And that's to basically help with the clocking of this thing angularly so that's nice and tight against the body. So just really make sure that hole is nicely match drilled. So in order to do that, basically, you're going to go ahead and mount the part up. Okay, I'm doing this one hand, so it's a little bit more difficult. Like that, and you can see the fitment should be already really close, but there might be some adjustments needed. So you can see here, the gap is a little bit of a gap here, I noticed, so you might need to sand this here. It's mainly because there might be some unevenness, things like that. But overall, the fitment should be really close. So go ahead, install a bolt in the front one, and go ahead and drill that hole. And I'll go over that later in the video. I won't be actually drilling it because I already made the hole on my car earlier, but I'll be showing you kind of the steps of that process. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I might pause the video in case I need to make some adjustments in the video, but I'll basically get started here and show you what needs to be done. So first, I'll be only installing the right side today using this one here. And I already made sure the holes were modified. I didn't have to modify any holes for this particular one because I did drill off the mold correctly. But in some cases, you might need to make adjustments, so just be wary. So one thing I also want to point out, the reason why there's 6 washers is because one of the washers is going to be used as a shim, and I'll show you that right now. All right, so here I am under the car, so I'm going to quickly show you how the assembly looks. So see, here's the bracket that mounts the back half of the spat. You can see it's now one with the bumper, it's not going anywhere. Here's a screw. We'll talk about this and everything and how that procedure is done, but I'm going to talk about that washer real fast. So going here, there's going to be a slight gap in between the spat and the bumper. This is normal. This is just due to the design of the bumper of the CRX. So that washer is going to go right in between the bumper and the spat, as you can see there. Okay. That's to ensure there's no gaps and doesn't put any additional stress on the part. On the top side, it fits perfectly, does not need a shim up there. Alright. Cool. So let's now go to the other side and show you the rest of the install. Alright, so once you're done making the top hole, it's very simple. Like I said, you just put a screw into here, figure out the position of what this needs to be by pushing up against the body, and go ahead and make that hole in your bumper. But once you do all that, it's time to paint. So I'm going to just show you some tips on painting after you made your adjustments and drilling the initial holes. Painting is really simple. It's standard painting procedures, of course, but I'm going to recommend two products for you guys: the High Build Surface Primer and the SEM Trim Black. The primer is necessary because it's going to leave a good surface for your trim black to lay on, and it's nicely sandable, and it's going to have to sometimes fill in imperfections on the fiberglass part. That's because the fiberglass part sometimes might have a small little divot or some little small imperfection from the mold, and this will help level those out. SEM Trim Black standard. I've actually painted the bottom half of the bumper SEM Trim Black recently to match the spat since it was kind of faded. And this is the best product to use. It's really easy to paint with, and it's fairly durable, which is good. So go ahead, paint that using standard painting procedures. I recommend sanding your part to 600 grit before using the SEM Trim Black after you apply the primer, and that's good enough for the stuff to lay on. You can paint 800 or 800 too, but that's a little overkill. It might just take up too much time. I've never seen the scratches from 600 grit if you apply 3 coats of this stuff. Okay, so next step, now that you made all the adjustments and painted your part, have that top hole drilled in your bumper, you're ready to go. So let's get started. All right, so go ahead and put the part up against the car or the rear bumper. Go ahead and put your first M6 bolt in or screw. You can do the same here. See, forgot one step. It's a good thing I'm gonna remind you guys. Go ahead, shim. So when I made my shimming it, go ahead and put the bolt, the washer, in between the fiberglass part and the bumper, so it'll look like this. If you can see that there. I'm sorry, I didn't show you guys that. There you go. You can see it like that. Okay. Now go ahead, line that up. All right, good. Now you go ahead, take your top one. Does not need to be shimmed. Go put that up there like that. You can see what's going to happen when you clamp it down. The back of the part is going to bow out a little bit, which is why we need the rear bracket. That's just the nature of this bumper. So I want to make it a little hard on myself. I still have the wheel on, but I'm going to go ahead and take a washer, put it on back here, take my nut, thread that on. I don't really need to show that process, but basically I want to make it a little difficult on myself and install it from the back side. For this top one little tip, there's a little, it might be hard to get to, but if you pull the bumper back a little bit, you're going to see there might be a little metal tang that's in the way. Go ahead, take some pliers, bend that out of the way. It's going to be hard to show on camera, but yeah, there's a little metal tang that might be right underneath the plastic trim in the back. Go ahead, just bend that out of the way if it's in the way for you. For me, it wasn't really in the way. It looks like it was already kind of previously damaged from a rock, but I know for some cars it might be a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and bolt this up and show you how that looks. Alright, I went ahead and bolted those two guys in. So real quick, if you guys could see it, get the camera in there. So sorry, I had to flip the camera a little bit on you guys. You get in there, there's a little metal right there. See this little tab hanging out? So that's the liner, and there's a little piece of metal there. You might need to go ahead and pry that out that way. Just to make room for this fastener. I recommend not self-tapping because this is more durable in longevity and this will last forever. So you can see when you bolt it down the front, you have this gap right here, but this gap will close with the bracket. So let's show you how to do the bracket. It should be really simple. Alright, so try to get a good position here to show you what to do here. So if you have any questions, please ask, but I'm going to try to get this on camera. So the idea is you want to close this gap in like this. And then here's the bracket right here. So this is going to be the right bracket, so there'll be a right and a forward arrow facing front. So the bracket's going to be oriented like that. And basically it's going to bolt to the bottom lip of this bumper right here. and the lip of the spat. So you want this to be really tight. So the trick here is to go ahead and push the spat how you want it to be positioned up against the car and find the position of the bracket. And you'll see right here is good. So you'll just kind of slip right in. Try to get a better view here. You'll slip in like that, okay? So the trick here, and it's not going to be easy, especially if you're doing it by yourself, but if you're doing it with two people, this is a breeze, okay? You're going to go ahead and get your center punch, and you're going to first make the holes for the bracket that go into the bumper with the M4 screws. So go ahead and take your center punch, find the center of the bracket. It should be nice and wedged in there, and go ahead and punch that out. Good. So bracket fell down on me, but that's okay. I'm going to now make this first hole here. Alright, so I went ahead and punched that out, found the center using my drill bit. It's the smallest drill bit, as I mentioned earlier in the video. Go ahead, drill that. Good. Now go ahead and check your fitment. So go get the hardware, disassemble it. As you can see here, just take off the nut, take off the split washer, and take off one of the washers so that you're left with this here, okay? And I'm sorry if this video seems so DIY, but is what it is. So go ahead and stick it into that first hole you made. It's the closest hole to the screw block here, as I call it. Go ahead and wedge that in. Boom, perfect. You can see that's gonna sit like that. See that? So the reason why you want to do this is it's gonna give you a guide to where to drill the second hole, okay? So this forwardmost hole is basically the hole to help this bracket to keep it from rotating. That's the whole idea why you need two screws. If you don't have two screws, the whole thing's just gonna pivot and eventually this thing will shift position over time. So go ahead and take your center punch again. Push that in to find your center. Okay, good. Now I'm going to go ahead and re-disassemble this and drill that next hole. Now you could do it with the bracket and match drill it on there, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, let's see if I can find it. A little dark on here, and I'm sorry about that. There it is, okay. Oops, my drill started walking on me. Be very careful about that. Alright, second hole made, good. And there should be enough clearance to keep the spout on, which is nice. Alright, so we're going to basically grab our second set of hardware, or number 2, undo that, take off. The reason why I put this all together as well beforehand is because it just organized to make sure I supply the right quantity for you guys and stuff like that. Go ahead and put that on, as so. You're going to slip it in between the two holes you made. It's going to be a tight fit, I'm going to warn you now, but that is required to keep this thing from shifting. Perfect. Look at that. So we're in. So now you can go ahead, put your hardware on, slip it over the top of the bolts. First will be the washer, okay, the split washer, and then the nut. So I'm going to pause it and do that. Alright, so I went ahead and put the hardware on with the nut. I'm going to show you guys that you can do this with any everyday tool. So here's a crescent wrench, screwdriver, as you can see here. I'm going to go ahead, just torque her down. In terms of how tight you want it, well, you want to do it pretty tight, naturally, so that the split washer and everything engages properly. But you want to do it to the torque of what's applicable for a smaller screwdriver, because you don't want to over torque it. It's completely unnecessary. Keep in mind, this bracket is a 3D printed bracket, so it doesn't need to be too on there. Alright, so I'm going to do the other side and show you how that looks. Alright, there's how it looks right there. So the bracket's on there permanently, extremely tight, which is what you want. But make sure the fasteners aren't too tight. Just basically torque it to what's hand tight of a screwdriver. It's going to be good enough because of the split washer locking that nut down, so it won't be too bad. Alright, so next we're basically going to screw a self-tapper and the bottom lip into the block here. And so you're going to want to get it pretty centered in this block. And the idea is you're going to push the spat towards the car, line it up how you want. So to put the self-tapper in, right through here, make sure you go ahead and take the rear lip of the spat, push it in with your palm like this to make sure it's seated the way you want it. Okay, now go ahead and get your punch tool. This is why it's really good to have one of these, because you could kind of get an idea where the hole's going to be. Get your punch tool and line it up with the block. You're going to want to put it inset so that the head of the fastener doesn't really, or the head of the self-tapper, let me show you what I mean. This head here doesn't stick out too far past like the lip, you know, it'd be kind of not really the prettiest if you do it that way. So make sure, kind of get an idea where you want to put that hole. Okay, so I decided, oh, 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters in. So I'm going to go ahead and center punch that location. Whoops. Like that. As you can see, you can do this on a painted part, no problem, since it's on the bottom side. So I just scribed that. And basically you're done. So what you want to do is that you're going to want to push this up against the car and go ahead and self-tap that in. I'm not going to do that on camera because I do take a long time to do it, because I want to make sure I don't break anything or slip anything. Basically you want to do this really slowly, but I'll show you how it looks after, okay? And if you have any questions on how to do it, just please hit me up. I just want to show up on camera and fumble the drill and everything. A little hard with the camera in the way. So one little tip I'm going to give you guys. Go ahead and take a smaller drill bit that's a little bit smaller than the self-tapper itself, and go ahead and drill the first hole through the fiberglass part. It's going to make it a lot easier when self-tapping. I forgot to mention that that's what I do before self-tapping. It's because the self-tapper tends to slip out of the way, tends to want to tilt out of the way like this. So once you do that, it's going to make it way easier to put up against the part, because essentially you're going to be doing a match drilling operation, pushing the part against the car, and then drilling into the bracket to make sure it sits nice and tight. So yeah, I'm gonna do that now officially, okay? All right, there it is. So you can see now, as I was pushing the part up against the bumper, I went ahead and self-tapped it. So it's easier for 2 people, but you can do it yourself, no problem. See, the gap is nice and closed, looks good now. And now it's one with the bumper, so it'll never go anywhere. So if a rock hits it, stuff like that, you should be good forever. So that's how it looks. Now, I do understand that it might not be the prettiest look with the silver machine screw self-tapper sitting under here. I do truly apologize for that. I was going to include black oxide ones, but I couldn't find them for an economical price. So one thing I am going to recommend is go ahead, take some of your SEM trim black, spray it on like a piece of paper or something like that, and use like a brush to kind of paint over the top of it. And it will hide it really, really nicely. So actually, I'm going to do that right now and show you how that looks. Alright, so here's how that looks. I actually ended up just taking the screw off and painting it, and then putting it back on. But yeah, there's different ways you can do that. But it looks a lot cleaner now, and you cannot really see it. So if I back away from the car, there's nothing really too visible unless you're looking underneath. And then looking from the back side, you can see there. Can't really tell. So that's how you do that. You could use double-side tape on the whole perimeter here if you want, make things a lot easier. It could be a way you mount it instead of using that bracket in the back, but I recommend the bracket as insurance for a guaranteed fitment. But you don't have to if you don't want. You could use 3M tape, but I highly advise that you use the bracket just because you get a nice clean fitment like this. Anyway, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you for shopping with Project EKP, and have a nice day. Bye.